Video. I think it is the 10th video in the Python training installment. I'm using W3 Schools. It's a free resource. Thank you for W3 Schools. This is not a paid advertisement or anything, but I'm really finding the tutorials to be pretty helpful to learn Python. I've taken in a course through Udemy a couple of years ago. I haven't really used Python a lot, so I'm just trying to go back for a refresher. So sometimes it takes one or two times to get the hang of something, especially if it's not really in your proverbial wheelhouse. All right, so I'm going to go over Booleans. I've already went over some basic syntax, comments, variables, data types, numbers, casting, strings. Most of these are done pretty good. I think I had some interesting challenges with strings. Notably so, again, not a programmer by nature, not declaring myself as a programmer by nature. Just want to show you that it is possible to get through this type of training, but you do have to stick with it. So hopefully the daily videos will at least give you some acknowledgement that there are people out there who are going through this training, and that you can see the struggle's real, but it is possible to overcome. And I just want you to know that. All right. I am hoping, I'm not going to promise any issues with Booleans. I do feel operators will be a little more in my area of expertise, just because I have used some programming. So that'll be the next video, though. Let's get to Booleans first. All right. Booleans, basically, you're just looking to get a true or false value about a particular variable for the most part. So you may need to know if an expression is true or false. I haven't exactly asked any particular program to find out whether a variable is true or false. I have seen them used in if-then statements where if something is true, then return this. If it is not, then return that. So I think there's an example in here, or at least there should be, so we'll go through this. All right. You can evaluate any expression in Python and get one of the two answers, true or false. When you compare two values, the expression is evaluated, and Python returns a Boolean answer. Okay, good to know. All right, so it's the same print true if 10 is greater than 9. All right, so that should come back as true. If I'm correct, that is not equal to. I'll have to go back over that one. So print is 10 not equal to 9. So you got to watch how that's asked. Let me go back and check that one. Is 9 greater than 9 is less than 10. So let's see what these come back as. Okay. So we're saying true, 10 is greater than 9. We're saying false, 10 is not equal to 9. And then here we're saying 9 is greater than 10. But, oh no, 10 is less than 9. And we're saying false on that, which that would be a false statement. So this one, I don't think I've went over these operators, not in a whole lot of detail. So I'll probably want to go back and get a quick refresher on the operators here in a minute. So let's go down the line here and just kind of run through some of these. When you run a condition in an if statement, Python's going to return. So again, I think I mentioned if statements. I have seen that. So A is going to equal 200, B is going to equal 33. If B is greater than A, which it should be, then you're going to print true. Else B is not greater than A, then you'll print false. Let's try this one. And we'll switch this one up for a second. Okay. So B is, so it's not really going to give us true false in this instance. It's saying print. So B is not greater than A. So let's switch these around. Let's make that 33. And it should give us B. Whoops. It should say B is greater than A in this one. So it should give us back the first one. B is greater than A. Okay. All right. Evaluate the evaluate values and variables. It's called a function. The Boolean function allows you to evaluate any value and give you true or false in return. Okay. All right. Might be good to know what a function is. Some of the stuff they haven't really went over entirely. So again, it's a function in Python. If you're not sure of something, just go out, take a quick look. Just go to Google, type in what is the topic that you're looking at, and just put in Python. It'll usually come back with a couple of things. Function block of code only runs when it's called. So you can pass data known as parameters to a function. Okay, so all right, so basically what we're doing here is you can pass data through this. Some of these get a little more complex. This one's looks to be fairly simple, so let's just take a look at this one. So here we're saying print Boolean hello and print Boolean 15. So we're trying to see if the data comes back. Is this true that this is a string and that's an integer? If I'm correct. The directions are a little bleak on this one, but okay, so it is saying true this is a string and true that is an integer or a number. Okay. All right. You can also evaluate two variables. Similar, x is a string, y is an integer. Those both should come back as true also. All you're doing is breaking out the one from the above. Okay. I've not necessarily used each of these specific instances. So, okay, so couple of things that might help. So sounds like almost any value is evaluated to true if it has some sort of content. And any string is true except empty string. So if it's an empty string, that's going to be false. Empty string is going to be false. Okay, next, any number is true except 0. All right, so any number true except 0. And then we have not went over list, tuple, sets, and I don't think we went over the dictionary other than when we learned a little bit about it up in, I think, syntax or comments. But any of those are true except the empty ones. Okay, so if something's empty or has a 0, that's definitely a call for it to possibly be false. So we're basically just saying, is there some values here? So let's take a look at these. So Boolean ABC, so we're essentially saying, is that a string? Well, it has some sort of value, so it should come back as true. Boolean 1, 2, 3. There's no 0 there, so it should come back as true. And then this is listed tuple, set, or dictionary. The main difference between a tuple and set, if I'm correct, this is a list, but I've been wrong before. I know tuples list, one of them uses the brackets and one uses the parentheses. We'll go over that again down through here. Again, I've seen some of the stuff, it's just been a while. So if I'm wrong at this point, I'm totally fine with that. Just getting kind of a quick refresher on this. Okay, so let's copy this over and see if these come back as, most of them should be true. I'm just going to go out there. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. This is giving me some errors, so it's lending me to believe it doesn't like its own code when I copy paste it. Okay, that's fine. I'm not worried about the system being completely perfect because I'm by no means not either. Okay, true, true, true. So that was a good guess on my part. Okay, so I just kind of ran through the data set up here, or the rules up here. Okay, some values are false. In fact, there are not many values that evaluate to false except, again, empty ones, the number 0, and the value none. And of course, the value false evaluates to false, of course. Okay, so all these are essentially empty. So they should all come back false if we do this. Okay, false, 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 false. Okay, all right. One more value or object in this case evaluates to false, and that is if you have an object that is made from a class with the len function that returns to 0 or false. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Again, they haven't really went over what is a class. So let's just take a quick look at that. Within Python, essentially, it's used to create an object. More so if you have, say, an object that you're dragging into a program, and then you can name it as something. Historically, at least that's how I've used it. So if you've used Scratch, if you drag, say, something over, that could be the code for a particular object. That could be the code within that could be defined as a class. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of an idea about what that is, we have not went over that term, and it looks like you won't get down to that for a few more videos, classes and objects. So again, just kind of throwing something at us here we haven't really went over, so I just want to be clear about that. Okay, so we have a class, and then we're going to define the class. So the main thing is you're going to have class, and then whatever it is, and then define. And then we're going to use the length function within this particular one, and then return 0. Okay. And then my object equals my class. So that's the actual class itself. You're going to call that something and then print whether that's true or false. It's going to return 0. If we're saying class is 0, my object should equal 0. That should equal false. Let's give it a try. Okay. All right. I'm glad I interpreted it that well. Okay. Functions can return a Boolean. So again, I think I went over function a little bit earlier. Basically, it's just a block of code that allows you to reuse it to perform a specific task. So, all right, print the answer of the function. So we're calling this, we're going to define it as my function. def means define. Function, return true, and then we're going to say print my function. So we're declaring it as true, which it should, you are declaring it as true, so it should return as true. I've been wrong before. Okay, all right, there we go. So next, you can execute code based on Boolean answer of a function. Print yes if the function returns true, otherwise print no. Okay, this is a little more straightforward because I'm familiar with if then if else logic, not by way of coding in Python, but I've used it quite a bit in Excel. So once you get the basics down in one area, it can help you in other areas. And I guess that's probably the main reason you want to learn this. It's not that I code Python and I'm great at Python, but I am familiar with if else. So if I'm in something, a language or a software package I am familiar with, I know the logic, at least for that software. I'm learning Python, but I know the logic in general. So I just need to learn Python, but the logic itself makes sense to me. Okay, so I have a defined function. It's called my function return true. And I'm saying if my function print yes if it's true, else print no. I'm going to change that to false at one point, but let's run this. So it's going to say true. Let's change this to, let's just put 0. Say it's returned 0, and then if that's a 0, it should come back as false because 0 is one of the parameters that would make this false. No. Okay, or no. So else print no. So again, it's not that I know Python, but if you understand the logic, that'll start to help you. I hope that makes sense. All right. Python has many built-in functions that return a Boolean value like is instance. Now this one's totally new to me. I've not really used this one. So this will be a little more interesting. Okay, so is instance function can be used to determine if an object is of a certain data type. Okay, so I'm basically asking x equals 200. That should be an integer. Is this? In this instance, is x an integer? That's basically what I'm asking. This one, it should be true. So we'll take a look at this code and see what it comes back with. All right, let's see here. So let's copy this over. And then we'll do the test questions on it. Should be true. Okay, all right, let's go over here and type in hello. That will be a string. Okay. It should come back as false. Okay, all right. So, it's not bad. Okay, time for a little test exercise. See how much we've gone through and learned and retained. So, what will be the result of the following syntax? So, 5 greater than print if true 5 greater than 3 should be true. Okay. All right, if I get these greater than, less than, I apologize. I'm not smarter than a 5th grader. So, yeah, it's been a while. I'm pretty good for the most part, but sometimes I do need a quick refresher, even on some basic stuff that I haven't really seen, at least from an academic standpoint, in a number of years. Okay, the statement below would print a Boolean value. Which one? Okay, print 10 greater than 9. 10 greater than 9 should be print 10 greater than 9. That should be true. That's what we're saying here. Okay. This one. Okay, 10. I want to do a quick double check. I'm pretty sure that equals not. Let's see here. It's been a while since I went over a lot of this stuff. I do want to look at operators. Hold on. Equal to. So we're saying it's equal to. I know we haven't went over that part yet. It's just been a while. Okay. So we're saying this is equal to, which is clearly not the case. I just wanted to make sure I had that right. I haven't went over that. So that's two equal sign says is equal to, which 10 is not equal to 9. Okay. Here I am saying 9, 10 is less than 9. So, which is clearly a false statement. I apologize if I got that wrong earlier, at least my definition of which way that operator was going. Okay, print Boolean and then ABC. We know that most things are going to come back true. So when in doubt, just true it out, unless you really know what, or at least guess that can be your hypothesis. Again, remember the main thing, 0, if it already says false. If it's blank or empty, those will be false. So this should come back true, since we know that there is something in there. But I've been wrong before. Yes, okay. All right. Now this one has a 0. If I'm correct, that's going to come back as false. Listen, don't get on yourself if you're struggling. If you've watched my videos, I've had a couple of wrong answers. So, take your time, get through it, learn it, and then you can move on. All right. Because it does get tougher, and this does build on top of sections build on top of one another unless they introduce one or two things you haven't seen. Like, for instance, in this one, haven't really went over if else, haven't really went over some of the other logic classes definitions. Just know, go out there and take a quick look at it, get familiar with it. You don't have to memorize it at this point. It'll certainly pop up down here. So there's plenty to learn here. If you haven't seen, I plan on doing a video for most of this. So it's a journey. Let's get through it together. All right. Next up, operators. I think that's a little more at my wheelhouse. I should have some experience with that one, both inside and outside of Python. So hopefully that video is probably one of my best yet to come. All right.